So you walk away from a situation, maybe it's a little bit of a conflict, maybe you blow up at somebody or what have you. Then you start thinking to yourself, am I the a-hole in this situation or were they the a-hole, right? So we highlight some of these on Reddit. Cassie finds them, and this is a great one this week because she's asking, like, my kid is scared of something in my neighborhood. It's not even mine. Am I being an a-hole for hiding the thing from my kid?
My neighbor Cindy is in her mid-30s, and she has a large front garden. She grows flowers and some vegetables, and sometimes she comes over with extras, which is really nice. She also has a gnome village in her garden. You know those tacky garden gnomes you see in the lawn and garden stores that you can paint and whatnot? Well, recently, Cindy got herself a new gnome. And for whatever reason, my 5-year-old son has developed a severe fear of this particular gnome. The other ones are fine, but this one is not. I'm not sure why, and yes, I've asked him why. I'm sure he's seen something scary on YouTube or something. The gnome is just a normal gnome with a gardening hoe and a basket of flowers, but I decided to talk to Cindy, explain the problem, and I asked if she would move the gnome to the back garden or behind the bushes on her patio so my son can't see it. Cindy refused. I wasn't asking for much. A few days ago, my son was outside playing and his ball rolled into Cindy's yard. He refused to go get it, crying and begging me to get the ball. I got the ball and moved her gnome behind some flower bushes. My plan was to move it back once my son stopped playing. But Cindy came out to water the garden and noticed the gnome was gone and demanded to know where it was. She even threatened to call the police on me over a gnome. I gave her back the gnome, and Cindy told me not to come on her property again. I told my wife what happened, and while she thinks Cindy overreacted, she also thinks I shouldn't have taken the gnome. She says our son will get over his fear in time and he'll just have to play in the back. I think our son has a right to play in his own front yard without being scared of a gnome. Am I the a-hole?
She wants a no-gnome zone.
I cannot look at that word right anymore. Like, I've said gnome so many times, it feels wrong coming out of my mouth.
I feel like a police officer would take a look at a call like this and go, you know what? This is one I actually want to take.
Yeah.
This one seems fairly safe to me. An argument between two people over a gnome. I'm going to go ahead and make that call. This one's hard for me to attach because I got to be honest with you. If somebody comes over to me and tells me that their 3-year-old has this irrational fear of my gnome, I'm getting rid of the gnome. It would be like a no-brainer. But I can understand, especially now we live in a world, you can't tell me what to do, I'm American.
Yeah.
Love it or leave it, my gnome stays.
Please say that. Oh, man. All right. So I'm trying to put myself in Cindy's position, the gnome fanatic, and also, the parent's position, and like if Jimmy was scared of a neighbor's gnome, how we would handle it. So, okay. Do I think Cindy is an a-hole for not moving the gnome to another location until little Jimmy gets over his fear? Yes. Do I think Dad was an a-hole for moving the gnome? Yes. So you can't touch somebody else's property and move it. And then Cindy coming out threatening to call the cops. Is that a-hole behavior? Yes, it is. God, everybody's an a-hole.
Everybody's an a-hole.
Everybody's an a-hole.
Clearly, the neighbor is a gnome phobic. And needs to get some help.
Man.
What do you do?
Yeah, there's enough a-hole to go around here. But if I was going to have to put it on one person, honestly, I don't think I could put it on Cindy. I don't. Now, I would move the gnome. It wouldn't be a problem for me, but I'm not a gnome fanatic. I don't know what that passion is like. So if this is her thing, for whatever reason it is, I don't think you can just step on her property and steal her gnome because your son is afraid.
He didn't steal it. He just put it behind some bushes.
Well, you can't put your hands on people's gnomes. You can't just walk around touching gnomes.
Are these gnomes supposed to guard? Do some people believe that they guard spiritually? They guard the house?
No, it's like a gargoyle. These are just like the plastic pink flamingo of the elf community, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't do anything special. They're just, people think they're cute.
Jordan, good morning. You're part of the Bert Show.
Hey, morning. How are you?
Fantastic, man. How are you?
Pretty good. I feel like the dad is the a-hole because, like, that is her property, that is her stuff. He doesn't need to go on there and move nothing. She doesn't go on his land and move stuff around.
It's a gnome. It's a damn gnome.
What if they were afraid of their son? You can't just walk on the property and move the son.
All right, so originally, gnomes were thought to provide protection, especially of buried treasure and minerals in the ground. They are still used today to watch over crops and livestock, often tucked into the corners of a barn or hidden in the garden.
Cass.
So the thing is, you can't expect everyone to accommodate your child. Like, just because you had a child doesn't mean everyone needs to bend over backwards. I think there are some things you can maybe ask, like if you're in a family setting, maybe try not swearing. But again, you get to live your own life, and just because I had a child doesn't mean you have to adapt to mine. And there was a great quote on the Reddit thread that said, "You don't prepare the environment for your child, you prepare your child for his environment." So stop bending over backwards and prepare your kid. But on the same note,
It's a gnome. And we're parents. Can't we all just help each other out by moving the gnome?
did y'all see the billboard in Times Square? It's a 3D one for Resident Evil, the new TV show. And it is terrifying. It looks like there's a monster trying to break out of a plexiglass cage, and it breaks free and it looks 3D. And I'm like, kids are in Times Square. Like, they can see this horror in front of them. So I'm like, where is the line between what's publicly acceptable for kids to see and when do you back off? Like, for me, a gnome, sorry, live your life, have a gnome. 3D Resident Evil billboard, take that mess down. That's going to give my kids nightmares.
Trust me, if they're in New York, that's not the scariest thing they're going to see that day.
They've got their head on a swivel anyway.
Don't you worry about
Head
that.
on a swivel.
The Bert Show.
So, first, thanks for watching. Second, you like what you just watched? That just scratches the surface. Get the Bert Show on any podcast platform. We're so good.